I'm back! I know I have been slacking hard time, but I'm here now with my favorite contemporary romance recent reads. Get out your pen and paper or Goodreads or something and get ready for a crap ton of recommendations. Alright, Act Like It, London Celebrities #1 by Lucy Parker. This is a new-to-me author and steps into an area of the genre that I'm always skeptical about, which is lasting romance that involves actors. But I'm willing to suspend disbelief if the story is good enough. This one is about love on or in the West End. Not sure what the proper preposition is to use for the theater district in London, but Richard Troy used to be the hottest actor in London, but has had a little bit of an image problem lately. Enter fellow cast member Lainey Graham to help rehabilitate his image. Very likable, even while grappling with what should ostensibly be a fairly unlikable character. That would be Richard. This book convinced me to try more Lucy Parker. Oh, Nalini Singh, how I love you. Mostly your paranormal books, but your contemporary romance is not half bad either. I read her newest release in the Rock Kiss series, which is Rock Wedding. This one is about Abe's ex-wife Sarah, who he lost because he was an alcoholic asshole. Years later, he's sobered up and got his life in order, and he might actually have a second chance. I enjoy this series, the characters, the stories. Of course, I just kind of love Nalini Singh, whether she's writing paranormal or contemporary. Bossman by V. Vi Keeland. This is a fun example of the genre, and by the genre, I mean the genre of 50 Shades of Grey knockoffs, where they throw out all the S&M and just keep the I'm dating a rich businessman part. That's all you really need to know about this book. That, and it was fun. Blue-Eyed Devil, the Travis's #2 by Lisa Kleypas. We've got self-made billionaire Hardy Cates who grew up poor, but rose to the top of Houston's oil industry. And she's Haven Travis, an heiress who's grown up with plenty of money, but doesn't want them controlling her life. She marries a man they do not approve of, and it's kind of a mistake. 2 years later, she's back home, heartbroken, and re-meets Hardy Cates, who her family considers an enemy. This was pretty good, with some bumps and caveats, but still one of the more engaging books I've read recently. Play, Stage Dive #2 by Kylie Scott. This series revolves around various characters and a famous rock band called Stage Dive. This one is about Mal, who is the drummer. He needs to clean up his image, and we know what that means in a contemporary romance novel. Fake girlfriend time! Anne used to have pics of Mal plastered on her walls as a teenager. Now, all grown up, she's got money problems, and taking the gig as Mal's pretend girlfriend is somehow the only way she can get out of them. Oh my god. Mal's personality, guys, he's the most manic character I have ever seen as a leading male in a contemporary romance book. It's insane. I can't say I personally found his personality sexy per se, but I still enjoy these books for the soap opera-y melodramatic fluff that they are. All You Need Is Love, Green Mountain #1 by Marie Force. Cameron heads out to Vermont to design a website for a family-run country store. Little does she know most of the family doesn't want her there. Which side will handsome Cameron come down on? And I am so excited. I have a new series to read. I think I might even like this one better than her McCarthy series. I tried another Jessica Lemon series, Second Chance Book 1, Bringing Home the Bad Boy. I know, super original title. And wait till you hear the tagline. The bad boy is back. Evan Downey's wife died 5 years ago, and he's been pretty darn sad since, and he's got a son to think about. By the way, he's a tattoo artist. So he moves back to the lake town where he spent childhood summers. Charlotte was his dead wife's best friend, and she's their new neighbor. All I have to say about this book is, what part about him was supposed to be a bad boy? That he had tattoos? There was literally nothing else about him that was remotely bad boy, which is how I prefer my leading men, but still, truth in advertising, people. Alright, so trying a new Robin Carr series of Thunder Point. Hank has left his friend's property in Thunder Point, so he comes up to flip it to try and sell it, but gets sucked into the life of the small town. And this is really slow, guys, and I mean really slow. Our main romantic leads don't even meet each other till like halfway through this book. But, you know, by the end, that slowness really works, and this book is still kind of stuck in my brain even now, so I'd say that's a successful book. I read the newcomer Thunderpoint #2 by Robin Carr. This one is about single dad and Thunderpoint's deputy sheriff, Mac McCain, who is finding happiness with fellow single parent Gina James. They've been longtime friends but have finally let things develop between them. But then their lives are thrown into chaos when Mac's ex-wife shows up and drama results. Both this and the first book start out so slowly. In my younger days, that would have totally turned me off from this book. But if you push through, you start to really enjoy the slow pace of Thunderpoint and the multiple storylines. The teenage storyline in this one was definitely the best storyline, so check it out. Picked up another Kristen Higgins book. This one is the third in the Gideon's Cove series, Somebody to Love. Parker is the baby mama to one of the romantic leads in a former book in which he gets married to somebody else. That was a nice, unique twist I haven't seen before. In this one, her rich-as-heck father embezzles her trust fund and leaves her to pick up the pieces. Her father's lawyer, who she despises, really wants to help with that pickage-uppages. This was classically good in the tradition of fine contemporary romance books for at least 1 to 2 decades. Though it is a Gideon's Cove novel that takes place mostly not in Gideon's Cove, which is odd, but heck, I also thought that was a nice deviation from the norm. Until It Fades by K.A. Tucker. This is the second book I've read that involves a hockey player and a single mother and an inn, strangely enough. This is, however, the better version. I don't know what it is about hockey players that begs for single mothers and country inns to be involved. This is more contemporary romance than new adult. I think a lot of people just labeled it new adult because that's what K.A. Tucker usually writes. If you're expecting something like the 10 Tiny Breaths series, this is not it. It's more typical of a Nora Roberts book, who also has a thing for inns, strangely enough. Speaking of Nora Roberts, #1 New York Times best-selling author, prolific, over 200 books, the lady does not stop. They keep coming. I wouldn't say I have a love-hate relationship with Nora Roberts. That's too extreme of emotions both ways. I find her books pleasant. If I'm in a certain mood, I find them calming. But I'm never stirred to great passion over Nora Roberts' books. I'm just not. But I recently found myself in a bit of a Nora Roberts mood and needed some of that Nora Roberts calming. So I picked up her Boonesboro trilogy, which was written, maybe 5 years or so, and man, do I have a high respect for this series. Not so much for the content, mind you, but because of the marketing chutzpah. Am I even saying that right? The marketing chutzpah of Nora Roberts for writing this series. Because get this, Boonesboro actually exists, and guess who owns it? That's right, Nora Roberts. She bought it herself, and then wrote an entire series just to promote that inn. It's brilliant, it's diabolical, and I, for one, am so admiring of her marketing brilliance that I don't mind being manipulated at all. Plus, the inn kind of sounds awesome. Each room is themed after a book couple, so like Jane and Rochester, Elizabeth and Darcy, and of course Eve Rourke from Nora Roberts' own In Death series under her pen name J.D. Robb. So, Boonesboro trilogy is really a grand marketing scheme to get people to come to her inn. I can dig that. Book 1 is called The Next Always. The Montgomery brothers have bought the historical and rumored to be haunted Inn Boonesboro. Beckett is the architect of the family, and his social life consists mostly of talking shop over pizza and beer. But also he's had a crush on the same girl since he was like 15. That girl, Claire Brewster, is now recently widowed and returned to her hometown. She's got 3 young sons and now runs the local bookstore, which happens to be across the street from Inn Boonesboro. Okay, verdict on book 1, it's classic Roberts sweet, but not unique, but fun to see how she subtly or not so subtly weaves in what is pretty much a 300-page promotion for the damn inn. Book 2 of the Inn Boonesboro trilogy, by Nora Roberts is The Last Boyfriend. In this one, Owen is the organizer of the Montgomery clan, and he runs the family's construction business. And though his brothers give him grief for his compulsive list making, the Inn Boonesboro is about to open right on schedule. Then there's Avery. She's got the popular pizza place across the street. Everything's across the street in this town. Owen was her first boyfriend back when they were kids, but now things get a little more adult, let's say. This one was less slow than book one, but still, it's Nora Roberts, so it's not exactly galloping along like a Michael Bay movie or anything. It's more like if Bob Ross directed commercials for small town inns. That's a compliment, by the way. Alright, final book in the In Boonesboro trilogy by Nora Roberts is The Perfect Hope. Ryder is the hardest Montgomery brother to figure out, with a tough-as-nails outside, and possibly nothing too soft underneath. Surly and unsociable, but apparently irresistible to a woman. Except Hope Beaumont, the innkeeper at the Inn Boonesboro. Here's finally one who is not across the street from them. She's the former manager of a DC hotel, but she's learning to appreciate the joys of small-town living, which include sparring with the infuriating Ryder. While the inn is running smoothly, her big city past is about to make an unwelcome and embarrassing appearance. Not as good as the first two in the series, but still nice to see the fulfillment of the series, corny premise as it may be. Have you read any of these? What did you think? Please recommend to me your favorite contemporary romance authors in the comments below.